You only need to watch any single episode to realize that Mushoku Tensei can be quite a morally questionable show. In the blink of an eye, the tone of the scene can immediately change into one filled with whole level of perverted actions, making you feel totally uncomfortable at times, crossing all your expectations about a typical isekai main protagonist. Stealing Roxy's panties, groping and trying to steal panties of Ares, thinking about grooming Sylphiad are just some examples of how flawed and trash of a character he can be. This is the show about a character flawed in many ways. Anyone that has read or watched even a little bit of Mushoku Tensei will surely find the protagonist repulsive and trash, but in reality, they fail to capture his true persona. His moral compass works similar to that of a regular person, manifesting peace, kindness, and gratitude, while also harboring fear, hatred, and selfishness. This is the show that shows the gradual maturing evolution and blooming of this imperfect and controversial character named Rudeus Greyrat. Of all the anime genres, isekai are the most infamous and controversial mostly because of their questionable heroes who can be annoying at best and downright offensive at worst. While their immaturity might be understandable given their young target audience, these heroes can still pose significant issues. The origin of this controversy started for Mushoku Tensei at the very moment the show started, not just as single story from protagonist's life, but the protagonist's life itself as the story. The show being a reincarnation story where you see the MC as he grows up rather than just time skip to when he is a teen is critically important to add depth to the story in a way that makes Mushoku Tensei more memorable and unique and controversial. Rudeus Greyrat is reborn as a baby in the new world, but with the mental faculties and memories of his 34-year-old self from the old world. And Mushoku Tensei being a series not just about a small segment in the protagonist's life, but tale about his life from birth to death has created no shortage of controversies. Due to Rudeus' friendships and relationships with people who are his new body's age, but remain decades younger than the total number of years he has lived. Unlike other isekai anime, it does not skip out on the inner workings of the world, as it slowly trickles down the details while keeping other particulars and the themes are tackled while telling a very human story. Rudeus is an actual trash person. His character is unlikable, but guess what? Certain otakus can be very selfish people, and the Mushoku Tensei is at least unafraid to shy away from exploring this, which brings us to one of the anime's most controversial hero. This is one of the largest turnoffs for prospective viewers and has created no shortage of controversies. Anyone that has read or watched even a little bit of Mushoku Tensei will surely find the protagonist repulsive. Rudeus is not a sympathetic protagonist at first. He is flawed, selfish, cowardly, and above all else, borderline parasitic. Rudeus befriends a local half-elf named Sylphiad, and when he realizes that Sylphie is a girl, he debates manipulating her into falling in love with him, in an admittedly gross plan. Although he regrets his thoughts later on, the fact that he considered it at all is something that will cause many people to frown in this test and is likely responsible for more than a few viewers hitting the off button when they have decided to give Mushoku Tensei a try. Though Ares is a couple of years older than he is, she remains a girl who is far younger than Rudy's combined years. Despite their age difference, Rudeus often inappropriately gropes and flirts with her. Eventually, he grows past this as a person, but it is one more plotline that will leave a bad taste in the mouth of a viewer, expecting a more nuanced approach to romance. Elements of Rudeus' original self carry over into his new life and are often considered problematic enough to make readers swear off Mushoku Tensei. As an unflattering depiction of an overweight, unemployed pervert, he is a far cry from the isekai protagonists of today, who are frequently average teenagers who stumble into awesome power or at worst are wronged in some way, giving them an impetus and moral justification to pursue power and revenge at all costs. Rudeus' character growth, slow as it is more important than his power levels. Because he is a controversial character, his mountain of regrets makes the act of redoing life more meaningful. Of course, there is no issue with criticizing Rudeus at the beginning stage, and it's up to you to decide whether you don't want to see the story because of that. Maturity of the protagonist was originally quite stunted. However, in his second chance, we are seeing him go through growth from a child to an adult. He doesn't live even a particularly worry-free life in his new world, but his decisions do change for the better as he has to grow. Most isekai put a certain otaku in another world and the character will go, well, time to be a better person. And they just be a self-insert bland cutout that will perform at the minimum level of human decency. Sometimes not even that, and people will fall over themselves to back in the MC's greatness, which is not the case for Rudeus Greyrat. He was an unemployed certain pervert otaku in his previous life and has sexually predatory thoughts and mannerisms. This has never been concealed. There has been a clear portrayal of this character flaw the entire time, and it doesn't get banished automatically just because he got reincarnated and suddenly becomes a good guy. Even Rudy himself acknowledged that he is come back. Mushoku Tensei is about a deeply flawed character that lives his life a second time after wasting his first and resolving to live a better second one. However, he still is the same person he was in his first life, and people do not change so easily. Mushoku Tensei shows how the world is not black and white. Anyone has some flaws, some more severe than others. And this is why Mushoku Tensei is Mushoku Tensei, and that's what makes this isekai Mushoku Tensei. And the portrayal of Rudeus Greyrat in this way gives meaning to the story, as his mountain of regrets makes the act of redoing life more meaningful. Isekai is always predicated as escaping one's life, but modern texts are preoccupied with hunting for praise and adoration, while Mushoku Tensei's jobless reincarnation instead grapples and explores the ideas of avoiding regrets and past mistakes. Dissimilar to other isekai self-inserts, his character is flawed in many ways, making Rudeus feel more realistic than other generic protagonists. His body remains uncoordinated, and he still has to learn the new world's language and rules. He remains a man in a growing body. He still has his bad traits intact from his previous life. Elements of Rudeus' original self carry over into his new life. His weakness, laziness, depression is something most people at one point have experienced. As such, seeing him try his best to better himself without him magically becoming super capable overnight is exciting and, most importantly, realistic. After all, people do not change overnight. Just because he has a goal now doesn't mean he will easily be able to become a super smart, capable, and perfect person. Rudeus retains his pervertedness throughout the series, but he becomes a better person who can handle his extreme lust. Then how the hell is Rudeus the protagonist that is worthy? So let's talk about what is protagonist. Protagonist is the central character whose actions and decisions propel the story and drive the reader's emotional engagement. Your protagonist doesn't always have to be morally upstanding, instead, they should have the potential to grow. The most compelling protagonists have strengths and weaknesses we recognize from our own life. There are many facets of a strong protagonist, and as we juggle the different places of characterization with the goal of building someone truly exceptional, one of the biggest jobs is to make sure readers connect to the protagonist, understand his or her goals, and most importantly find them worth rooting for. You say he has no character growth, but he went from a dude he jacks off to lollipon during his parents' funeral and bemoans how unfair it is that his family kicked him out, to a person who decided to fight the strongest being in the world, despite almost dying the first time they met. To protect his family, he is being drawn into action against his will, but even then he does what he needs to do, which makes him respectable. Also, you keep calling him a coward, but despite being a coward, he constantly moves forward and does what he has to do. So I think that's more impressive than someone who is fearless. He admits he is flawed. He doesn't hide or run away from it, and now he is just trying to live in a way so that he won't regret it. He has failed many times and got into many misunderstandings, has no talent for swordmanship, died twice. He could have given up and gone back to his neat ways, but he didn't. That makes him interesting. He is a big idiot many times, But have you ever bothered to ask why does he think that way? Maybe it's a holdover from his past. Maybe it's a new experience that he has never tried to navigate before. Maybe it was a bad memory that he has to revisit and doesn't know what the right choice is this time. Or sometimes there is no right choice and it's just an entire world of grey. He only does what is necessary to protect what's important to him. Rudeus is a garbage human, but when he was given a second chance, he made the effort to change into a regular guy. That's why people like him and is a worthy protagonist despite all his flaws. In fiction, it's often assumed that characters deemed good or worthy share a uniform moral compass. However, each person's moral framework is profoundly individual, shaped by upbringing, influences, and lessons, both positive and negative, they have encountered. Just as in real life, these factors craft a distinct moral code for every individual, which should also hold true in the portrayal of fictional characters. Any character can be likable, but your protagonist must be worthy. Rudeus is by no means a perfect character. He is just as vulnerable to human urges and his own weaknesses as anyone else, with failure being a regular obstacle throughout his adventures. However, his character growth is defined by several crucial moments throughout the series, which will make even the most doubtful of viewers see Rudeus in a better light. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. So if you liked the video, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. And thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.